Let's talk about the future of housing. The Senate had approved, they had passed a vote on Monday, 85-5, this bipartisan affordable housing bill that would limit the number of single-family homes that major investors can purchase after months of debate, spanning both chambers of Congress. So let's take a look at housing and the future of housing, because could we 3D print a bunch of new houses now, especially starter homes? Joining us on 710 KURV, affordable housing expert Lance Thrailkill at Printed Technologies, or Print 3D Technologies, the way it would be spelled if you were to put that in a search bar somewhere. Let's talk about what you do at Printed Technologies for a second, Lance.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So Printed Technologies, me and my co-founder founded. He started actually 3D printing like 6 years ago. He bought a 3D printer. And he has a real estate portfolio of affordable rentals, and was just building for the rental portfolio. And I have a manufacturing background. I'm the third generation of a sheet metal fabricating business called All Metals Fabricating. And we had a bunch of money invested in the portfolio, and I started seeing what Icon was doing down in Austin. And they weren't vertically integrated. They weren't selling machines at the time, and they're still not, but they will be next year. And they weren't really building in affordable housing. They were building kind of more mid-market. And so I just went to him, I was like, let's pivot the portfolio and launch a 3D home printing business where we can design and manufacture 3D home printing systems to help builders, across the country embrace this new technology. And so as part of our go-to-market strategy, we are building homes. Ultimately, we're building a construction technology company with hardware and software to automate construction, which is the only way to really solve the affordability crisis.
How did we get into this position? I'm only aware of, how did it happen that somebody was buying up all the houses?
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of I want to choose my words carefully here, but it's a little bit of politicking. Does it make an impact? Yes. Do we want private equity buying up portfolios of homes? No, because they're purely driven by profit, but ultimately all landlords will be. But private equity can be more aggressive in their financial engineering and their drive for profitability because they're trying to get an exit. And you've seen private equity move into this space more on the Airbnb side from my understanding. Ultimately they're saying, hey, we don't want big corporations coming in and buying up supply, and rent is just crazy. I mean, like, home ownership is difficult to afford right now, but the real problem is, I mean, you can't save enough to get a down payment when you're paying these exorbitant rent prices. I call it the rent race, like a rat race. It's like you can't get off the hamster wheel because you're paying so much in rent you can't save enough money to put a down payment on a house. So that's the angle they're attacking from a supply side on the rentals. And really, if they're buying up these homes, then those could be purchased by homeowners, which is ultimately who they're built for, right? That's the American dream, and it sadly has slipped away.
We'll talk about the 3D printing in just a second, because I am fascinated about this idea, because I've seen it in action in videos, and it is a sight to see. Lance Thrailkill is a affordable housing expert at printedtechnologies.com. He's our guest on 710 KURV. The thing I was aware of was people, reserving houses, keeping them, on standby for the Airbnbs when that was hot. Because I knew in the bigger cities, closer to, I'll give you an example. Like in New Orleans, close to all the highly touristed areas, people had a lot of homes that they were putting up on Airbnb, and it caused its own housing crisis in that area. People were complaining, hey, don't rent Airbnbs, go to a hotel or a motel or something, because we can't find affordable places to live because of the Airbnbs. I think at one time it was just, I've got a condo down by the beach or something like that. But I had never heard of anything like that until the Airbnb era.
Yeah, there's a lot of tax advantages to having short-term rentals. And so that's, and then obviously you can get higher rent rates. So there's pros and cons to long-term versus short-term. But ultimately what it all boils down to, and what this is, trying to help solve a different way, is that we have not had historically, and as long as I know, had supply be able to meet demand. And what I mean by that is, we cannot build enough houses fast enough to meet the demand. And so you couple that with the fact that, the boomers are all retiring, the skilled trades, they say that 40% of the skilled trades are going to retire in the next 5 years. We already have a skilled trade, shortage. And then also with, post-COVID, we've had supplies go up. It was at 30% as of like a year and a half, 2 years ago. So it's probably now closer to 45% on the supply side. So all that to say, people, even with 3D printing, they're like, how much cheaper can you build per square foot? And that's great. We do want to build for less per square foot than traditional construction, but that still doesn't, if you're only building 1 million homes per year, it's 1.4, how many we build as a country, and you need 7.4 million affordable homes, and that delta is growing year over year because of the difference. It doesn't matter how cheap you can build per square foot. If you can't have supply, it's simple economics, right? Macroeconomics. If you don't have supply meet demand, prices are going to increase. And so that the real way to solve affordability is by automating construction so that we can build homes faster and better product, and building it faster so that you can have supply actually meet demand. And so that's the real way to solve it. Yes, building per square foot cheaper, or less expensive, I should say. I don't like the word cheaper. More efficiently is an even better way to describe it, is key, but that doesn't solve the problem. And so we need to automate construction. It's the only industry that I'm aware of in the world that we haven't changed in over 100 years. I mean, the most revolutionary thing that's happened has been the nail gun, apart from like some there's some cool AI takeoff softwares and stuff like that. And that's not a knock on the industry. Their margins are thin, and their building code takes 5-10 years to get updated, right? And so there's a reason why, and construction technology is very capital intensive. So there's a reason why construction technology companies struggle to be successful, because it takes so long to get building code adopted. But we've come to a place now, and it's coming to head even more as people are going to be retiring, where we have no choice but to automate construction. And so that's what we're looking to do with 3D printing.
I got to ask you, so how does I've seen a video of it. I don't know if this is the way that you all do it or if it's the way that everybody does it when you're 3D printing a house, but for the audience, if you could picture a soft serve machine pumping out concrete, that's the video that I saw. How does 3D printing a home work?
That must have been my video. I used that, or somebody else got that, or I don't know, maybe I got it from somebody else, who knows. But yeah, that's a great way to describe it. And most people now have seen these little desktop 3D printers. People actually ask us, are they plastic homes? Because most people associate 3D printing with plastic. Well, you can actually 3D print metal, but we're 3D printing cementitious material. And so you have concrete coming out, like you said, the soft serve ice cream dispenser, essentially. And geometric code is telling it, G-code is what we call it, is telling the printer where to go and what to print. And so essentially you're printing, and when you print it, you're printing the wall system of the house. So interior and exterior walls, you could just do exterior, but might as well do interior as well, unless you wanted some ability to be able to remodel in the future more easily than you would do interior walls in your traditional sheetrock. But what you essentially have, you have an exterior and interior bead on both the interior and exterior walls, and that creates a thermal break between the two walls. So you have a much more energy efficient house. And all that to say, you can print a 1,500 square foot house in about 40 hours of print time. And so, you're talking, if you're working 8-hour days, you're printing about 6.5 of those. But really, these machines are dead quiet. Ours is silent. So, the reason why you can't have construction after hours is because of the noise. And neighbors, don't like the noise. Understandably so. I don't either. But with these silent machines, like in Austin, the city's allowed Icon to be able to print around the clock. And so then you could get a house up. You could get the wall system of a house up in a couple of days. Now you got to set up the machine, tear down the machine. That takes a couple of days also. But within a week to 2 weeks, you could have the entire wall system, exterior and interior walls, printed, and then you could be dried inside of a month. Which is unheard of. Framing takes a couple weeks. Then you have sheetrock. So essentially, we're replacing framing, sheetrock, and with sheetrock, you got to do tape bed and texture, of course, and then masonry also. And then also, you can even remove paint. There's a lot of new technologies coming out with the cementitious materials where you can impregnate it with different colors, and so you can, potentially even remove paint as well. If you're okay, some of them are lighter color as well, so you might be okay with that, or you may want to paint it too. But ultimately, you're removing about 40 to 50 skilled trade people and 4 different crews with one machine and 2 people operating it in a matter of, a week to 2 weeks.
How? Let's talk about the sturdiness of it. I mean, it's concrete, right? But can you throw out some numbers?
Yeah, you're building a fortress as opposed to toothpick homes, as I call them. I got that from some of my friends from Mexico that they call our homes toothpick homes, which was funny to me. Anyways, so yeah, the sturdiness, it's rated up to 249-mile wind rating, fire resistant. Really, they're essentially fireproof, but the way fire ratings work, once something reaches a certain degrees, it's no longer fireproof. And so if you have something touching it, like a wood, frame around a windowsill or something like that, it would burn. But essentially what you have is a mold resistant, termite resistant, fire and wind resistant house, like I said, up to 249-mile wind rating. You can make them, essentially tornado proof. And so you have far superior structure. And right now what we're solving for is architecturally making these homes appear the same as traditional construction, because that's what it's going to take for mass adoption. It's like my wife says, I don't like the beaded look. Well, we can do a smooth wall. And right now we actually just built a new rotary print head that can automate a smooth wall. And so imagine being able to have a stucco finish on even a low income house for no extra cost. I mean, that's unheard of, right? And so that's what this new technology brings, of better structure. And right now we're solving for the architectural differences between traditional to help with mass adoption by people that like traditional architecture.
Well, that sounds like affordable housing, and I hope it stays affordable, hopefully, with popularity and all that. But real quickly, Lance Thrailkill, real quickly, how can we get more information at Print 3D or Printed Technologies?
Thank you. Yeah, go to print3dtechnologies.com. That's print3dtechnologies.com.
All right. Thanks a lot for spending some time with us today. Lance Thrailkill, affordable housing expert at printedtechnologies.com. You're listening to News Talk 710 KURV.